Whew. All right. Well, I'm back for podcast, VideoCast, whatever you want to call it, number 2 for the language movement. Repping one of my shirts right now. Feels pretty fresh. I'm going to try to keep this as light as possible, despite everything that's going on. But obviously, I'm going to use this platform to talk what I can about taking action and trying to come together to make a positive change, as opposed to some of the stuff that has been going on, or at least has been portrayed in the media. So not to dive right into that, but last week I was taking a certification course for something called Heart Math, and something in the fitness industry that's come to light recently with the Whoop band and all these different platform devices. I have a Garmin watch that measures HRV, and this heart rate variability measure is something that can be used to track the rhythms of your heart. And the rhythms of your heart can give you good information about stress levels in the body. So we're starting to deduce some information about what's going on, Bob. Starting to deduce some information about how HRV measures can be correlated to emotional states. So something that I really love in the movement world is to help people reach a flow state. In the heart math world, they talk about it being a coherent state. But flow state and coherent state, the underlying thing is higher cortical functioning. What that means is, what's up, Kathy? What that means is your brain working at its best, being able to perform at the best, making rapid fire decisions without having to think about it, but being able to trust your intuitive senses, your previous knowledge, and the idea, that right now a lot of emotion and energy is flying around, rightly so. Pandemic, George Floyd, Ahmaud, there's too many names to list off. I'm forgetting them all right now. And the tools that I just learned in this heart math certification are exactly what the world needs to keep this coherent state, or to keep this place of cortical function, as opposed to cortical inhibition, where we make bad decisions and we act out of emotion, as opposed to acting with specific intent. So what I want to start this whole video cast with, after introducing that, is just for myself, really, kind of a quick coherence technique, which involves 2 techniques, but the simple idea of bringing some energy into the space around you that is positive, that is renewing. Hey Tara, that's a renewing energy and emotion, as opposed to a depleting energy and emotion. So I know here in LA, a lot of people are showing their emotions in ways that are not necessarily the most constructive. And that just, for me, adds to a depleting energy that is just covering the whole city. So one thing that we can do as individuals in our own space, with our own communities, is bring some energy that is renewing. And simply by thinking about it, simply by generating that energy from the heart, we can radiate that energy out. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm not going to say anything, so it's going to get a little quiet. But what I'm going to do is a technique called heart-focused breathing. And what that is simply bringing your breath through your chest area or your heart, not to get too woo-woo, but just to focus on that area. You can breathe into your pinky finger if you want to. So it's just setting an intention to your breath. So breathing in and out of your heart. If it helps to bring your hands over your heart, close your eyes, whatever you do, just to focus on that area, and imagine a slower breath than normal. So 5 seconds is the recommended tempo, but if that's challenging for you, do what's comfortable for you. But a 5-second inhale through the heart, and a 5-second exhale back out into the universe through the heart. So go ahead and start that. I've already been doing it, so I've been practicing this, but it's something that you can do in the car. You can do it with your eyes open. You can do it while you're talking to somebody. So you don't have to set aside a specific time. just to breathe energy through your heart space. The second part of it is to check in or to bring about a regenerative feeling or memory. So a joyful experience, a harmonious experience, a peaceful experience, and generate that energy from your heart to yourself first, and then, hey Angela, out to whoever you feel needs it in your community. Could be your close family, it could be the people who are showing up for demonstrations, but that simple, quick coherence technique, which involves the heart-focused breathing and that idea of generating a renewing energy, is a simple thing that you can use at any point in your day. It's really a pretty simple technique. But the idea is that if we can act together from a coherent space and we can show our strength in numbers, and I have seen some demonstrations like this, which makes me hopeful, and I have ideas that I'm going to share, but I guess it's frustrating when our own leaders aren't giving us guidance on how to do this the right way. So we're left to figure it out for ourselves. And when people are acting from emotional places, it's generally going to be incoherence. And we see some destruction, we see some violence, we see some looting. And sometimes, again, I'm not saying those people are necessarily wrong. That might be what it takes at this moment to try to get some attention to another group of people that didn't necessarily open their eyes on Tuesday when this happened. And the people who are more outraged over the protests than the death of George Floyd, that says something in itself, which I haven't been able to decipher yet. But what I hope and what I've seen a little bit of is that leaders will step up, and I don't think it's going to come from our politicians, and I don't know if it'll come from the police and law enforcement. So it has to be people amongst ourselves who can stay in that coherent space and who can have an influence over people to get them to realize that if we come together and lay down in the middle of key intersections in all of our cities, if we stop purchasing goods from certain stores for a long period of time, not just for one day, if we show our strength by working out in front of police stations in a group manner, and again, causing disruption, but peacefully, dancers, organize flash mobs. What's up, Amber? Dancers come together, organize flash mobs, get the people to learn a simple dance, and we show up somewhere and we all dance for hours and we congregate and we connect, because I know right now after this pandemic experience, I need connection more than ever. So I'm thankful for all of you that are tuning in right now, listening to me rant about this. And again, I hope I'm not alone in these thoughts that we can create a change, but we have to do it together. And we have to do it in an organized way. And we all have a platform. Every single one of us on Instagram right now has a platform. We have a voice. So even if it's just sharing somebody else's story, mine, I don't care, I share it. There's so many other people out there who are saying better things than me, though. And I have an acquaintance that I worked with at Equinox, and now we've stayed connected through social media. And his Instagram handle is private, but he's allowed me to share it with you guys. So it's JLG and then the number 2, but spelled out. So JLGTWO. And what I fear people don't realize, and I think some people do, is that George Floyd's not the first one. Ahmaud's not the first one. My friend David has accounted, and he's going to tell, he has started telling the stories on his Instagram, but there's over 4,000 stories in the history of the United States of Black men being killed. And oftentimes the murderers go unsentenced, and that injustice just doesn't make sense anymore. And I have no experience of what that's like. I'm a white guy. I grew up with an amazing, privileged family. I still have struggles, but nothing like that. And so I'm at a loss for what to do. You know, I'm using my platform to try to connect to people. Um, I want to organize and I want to demonstrate, but I want to do it peacefully. And I don't know where or how or who to connect with to do that. So here I am, just talking and hoping to open up space to listen to people who need to talk. And that's what the whole heart math thing was about. So I'm really happy that I just spent the last week learning these tools, because now I'm more prepared to help. The language of movement was always about helping people move in a more broad capacity without pain, and so that we could connect in our communities and move together through life. As these unfortunate events unfold, it becomes more apparent to me now that that's necessary. And now, for those who don't want to move for whatever reason, there's a language that I can share with people, and these heart-focused breathing techniques, these quick coherence techniques. There's 7 of them that you can use for yourself, you can use for your relationships, you can use for your family or business, strangers you meet during a demonstration who are doing something you don't agree with, but you need to have a conversation with them to try to communicate without elevating the situation. There's so many useful techniques. And I taught this unit in the certification, so I'll just talk about it now. And I was using it in a sense of, man, what's up, everybody? Thank you for logging in and just checking me out for a second. I appreciate it. From an athletic standpoint, I've been a team and individual athlete pretty much my whole life, in various sports. And luckily, I've had the pleasure of being on the same team as some hot-headed individuals, but I've also had to play against some hot-headed individuals. And in our society, there are some people who run hot. Their baseline is just a little elevated. And if we can use these techniques to shift that energy, so talking about movement, the language of movement, if we can shift our energy to more of a renewing space, then when we enter into these really difficult times, a pandemic, a visible public murder, we can start to act from a coherent baseline as opposed to an incoherent baseline, or the hot-headed aspect. What's up, Keith? Teddy, what's going on, everybody? Enrique, what's going on, man? Thank you for checking me out. So this baseline, we have to do the individual work so that our baseline starts from coherence, from optimal functioning. If we start from incoherence, we are going to act irrationally. We are going to do things that don't add to the momentum of the message that needs to be discussed, which we already know the moment we start to get off track, the media is going to take that and run. And that's what happened here in LA last night. I don't know about other cities in the United States. And I'm trying not to be naive to that. I can only focus on so much at one time. And thank you, Amber. Thank you. Again, the media didn't show the peaceful protests that happened all day long. They chose to highlight the moment things turned aggressive. And I saw one video of an officer in Flint, Michigan, who's had their own struggles with water issues, which is baffling, but another topic. And this officer chose to address the public without gear on. Came out with a sweatshirt. He had his vest on underneath, but a sheriff's sweatshirt, no mask, no baton in hand. And he addressed the crowd. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that enough, where officers show up in the gear and that looks very standoffish and they don't say anything, or they say very direct comments like back up, and they put curfews to keep people inside. And it, again, that limits the ability for a peaceful protest. So how are we supposed to do this? So yeah, I don't know what the answers are, but I know I need to start a conversation amongst my group of people, my networks, anyone that will listen, anyone that will share knowledge. Since this whole pandemic started, I've been making a push for people to see different perspectives. And I do my best to try to see all sides, but in watching that video numerous times, I do not understand how someone didn't risk their life to save his life. I don't know if I would have in that moment, but I have to imagine that if I was in that vicinity, I stood there watching that happen, I don't know. Like, we're too busy filming things rather than actually witnessing things. And like, for the officer or officers, or for the people in that moment, if they could just stop for a moment and recognize by using their senses, looking, listening, feeling, all of that, and then tapping into a deeper feeling, which is that intuitive sense that we have but has been suppressed or shut off or not used. Any human in that moment would have recognized something needed to change. Just a 3-inch position. It just doesn't make sense on so many levels. So yeah, I want to make myself available. And I know I'm here ranting and just talking a whole bunch, but I have a very good friend who has started a specific initiative called Listen Up. And she sent me something that I want to read because she just wrote it really well. So I want to use my platform not just to get a message out, but I also want to make myself available to listen. And so I want to do something to help. I want to do something to help my people, the community, and those who feel silenced or unheard. Among other things, I think the most valuable thing that I can do is to offer my space and my time to listen to you. Please let me know if you would like to be heard, and we can discuss a time, a format, and how long you'd like to be listened to. I'll be happy to sit and listen to you without saying a word. Don't let your voice go unheard. So again, I'm offering just in this time and forever moving forward, if you need to be heard for whatever reason, just reach out. I want to make myself available to help in as many different ways as possible. And teaching movement is one, but being an active, open listener is definitely another. And I may not be the best at it yet, but I'm definitely learning more skills to help me get there. And the only way to get there is by practicing. So yeah, I appreciate everybody who's stopped by tonight just to listen to me, because I've been sitting here since really Wednesday is when it hit me. We're in a moment, and now we're in a second moment, a bigger layer, and I don't think people are stopping to recognize it. And then in turn, we're not changing. And that means the cycle is going to repeat. And that I don't really know what else to say. I've been trying to work all day just to do something else with my time, but I couldn't focus, so I got a couple emails sent. That was pretty much it. And I ordered a new microphone for my classes and whatnot, just something that was a little better quality. I gotta oil my chairs more than I need a fucking microphone. But I was gonna walk to Best Buy because someone happened to cut my exhaust off my car. That happened the other night. So I didn't want to drive my car. So I also figure if there was any sort of demonstrations going on here in the valley, I would participate. So I put on my shirt, grabbed a bag with some water, and I started just to walk towards, I live on Topanga, so like Victory and Topanga, just to see if anyone's there. In the past, sometimes there's been some people there with signs. And I live right by the Westfield Topanga Mall. And there was a helicopter flying around for a couple hours prior to me walking out there. And as I got closer to the mall, I could see a lot of cops just everywhere, driving, some just kind of posted up in parking lots. And I was making my trip a little shorter, so I cut through the parking lot. Didn't do anything, just kind of started walking through the parking lot, but I could tell that the helicopters started kind of circle like a little closer to me. No, yeah, I know. Yeah. That's what I heard after the fact. An unmarked car came up, asked me what I was doing. I told him I was walking to Best Buy. Got to Best Buy, it was closed. So I wish I would have known that. I called, but they didn't answer. So maybe that should have been my sign. But anyways, it's very apparent that they can sense the unrest, but they're not doing, they being the leaders, whoever they are, that should be stepping up right now. They're not giving us guidance, and we haven't been educated. And if you don't do the work to educate yourself, then you don't know what to do right now. And that's, again, I'm in that boat. I don't pay that much attention to the, pardon my French, clusterfuck that is politics, because it's too confusing to try to understand what these politicians actually stand for, what these propositions are actually going to do with our tax money or with whatever ordinance they're trying to impose. So I get very frustrated. I think I'm not the only one. There has to be numerous people that feel this way when it comes election time. how do we know we're voting for the people who are going to create change at that level? And how are we supposed to act from a coherent place when we're constantly being lied to? And this comes from somebody who used to be a compulsive liar. In high school, I used to lie to my parents all the time. So I learned that it doesn't do anything. It doesn't breed any positive reaction, result. But yet, it seems like the media, certain leaders lie to us relentlessly. So what's up, Steve? Wow. So yeah, I don't know how we're supposed to act right now. Certain peaceful protests for years haven't been listened to. We could list them off, from the Olympics to Colin Kaepernick kneeling, to peaceful marches, to whole basketball teams wearing shirts in their warm-ups for games. So if that doesn't work, and if we have tried to vote in some capacity, but seemingly that doesn't get the right results to happen, whether it's because not enough people turn up for the vote or the vote gets swayed. So what's left? Again, this is where some of the violence and some of the destruction, I think, at some point has to happen. I don't agree with it. I don't plan on being a part of it, but we have to get smarter. As humans, we are smarter. And I use this analogy, like the 4-minute barrier. If you could break through the 4-minute barrier, I was like unprecedented. It was this thing that in the running community was just never going to be touched. And then one day, if I'm not mistaken, Sir Roger Bannister, I think that's his name. Doesn't matter. Does matter, but not in this moment. A man came along and broke the 4-minute mile. And to me, it seems plausible that humans have a level of consciousness that is equatable to the 4-minute mile. And right now, we're running 4:01, 4:05, because the systems that we've been educated through, that we are allowed to utilize, keep us in that 4-minute space. But if you know the story of the 4-minute mile, once someone cracked that barrier, within the next couple months, 60 people broke that record. If I'm not mistaken, I could be off on these numbers, so don't quote me specifically, but the tipping point happened. People saw it was possible. So if we can elevate our baseline to coherence, and we can go past that to super coherence, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it exists, but I'm working with people who seemingly are there. We can create better solutions. There's a quote, I posted it the other day, but it's worth rereading again. Let's see. It's from Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. And to me, that speaks to this idea of optimal functioning or higher level thinking. And we've created these problems: disease, social unrest, famine, poverty, So we, being the creator of that, can be the creator of these solutions. And I don't know how we get there. It has to be, again, someone breaking that threshold so other people can see it's possible. But when I was leaving high school, calculus, and this may date me, whatever, calculus was like a senior level grade thing. Now, like, freshmen are learning calculus. So like algebra is junior high and geometry is like, it's all going that way. So we are progressing. We're processing information faster and faster and faster. And if we do the work from a movement standpoint, my line of work, we can process information more accurately, more effectively, and in turn react more precisely, more effectively, more efficiently. Therefore, we conserve energy so that we can put energy into other places that are more constructive. So again, it all comes back to our health and us taking ownership of our health. And I think whether that's seeking people to talk to in your community, whether that's moving your body daily in a multitude of ways and pushing your boundaries and testing your capacities of body and mind, working to see other perspectives, all of these things right now, it has to be a daily effort. And I used to use a mantra, better every day. Just one little granule, better every day. In some arena, right? We have all these different levels: movement, professional, family, whatever, community, make up your own pillars, right? But like today I'm adding 2 blocks to the movement pillar. Tomorrow I'm adding 2 blocks to my professional development. The next day, I don't have that much energy. I can only add 1 block, but I can add 1 block to my family. And over the course of a year, over the course of 5 years, now you've worked to build all of these pillars up. And that's, again, it takes resetting your values. It takes resetting focus points on what actually is the words they use in the Heart Math program. I love it. It's like, what is the highest best for all? And at some point you have to start with yourself. What makes you happiest in this moment? What is the healthiest choice for you right now? In your next workout, with your next meal, with your next bedtime. Maybe you can stay up late tonight because emotions are running high, but you have to make that conscious decision tomorrow to get better sleep. You just made a step to do a little bit better today than yesterday. So again, it's a constant game that we're in. And like, anytime you get complacent, you've failed, you've fallen back. You haven't failed, but you've fallen back. And like, that's what I hope I can help people create in their own lives, is this ownership of their health. Not just their body. I'm not a therapist, but body, mind, spirit. And I've been talking with a select group of people about this, but I might as well just start the conversation. I have made the realization that I'm not just helping people live, but I'm also helping people prepare for death. And that doesn't have to be like the most morbid end of life death, but we die on a daily basis. Yesterday's me is gone. Our cells change. We truly become new people when we adopt new beliefs. And I have a theory that our inability to let go of these micro deaths, even in a moment like this, right now I'm in the middle of it. Like, I've found a little flow. I'm talking, but there's going to be a death of this moment. And if I can't let go of the fact that maybe I didn't say something quite right, or that I didn't get the right message out, or not enough people tuned in, then I've lost the point. So I feel like I'm set up with a wonderful bit of knowledge to give back. And I'm doing the best I can through creating my business in the language of movement and through the clients that I work with to do just that, to provide the knowledge that I've learned and to help open up this door so that people can take ownership of their health. So that the next time, there will be a next time, the next time something happens to cause a disturbance, we are in a healthier place to navigate that. And my hope is that we can start to create healthier communities who can move through these things together so that we don't have to figure it out on our own, but that we can actually come together to move through these things together. And the broader your capacity for movement, the more options you have. If you're just a runner, I ran for a long time. Cross country, track, soccer, I just ran. That was my response to a lot of problems in life. I would run. But as I started to dance more, lift, martial arts, start to fight, play sports, now I have choices for how I want to navigate life. Maybe I want to dance through this moment because I just can't take it and I gotta just shake it off. Maybe I want to stand and fight right now because I have that capacity and I stand for what I believe in. And right now it's worth fighting for, even if that's just with words and peaceful protests and demonstrations, but if you can lift, if you're strong, you can do the heavy lifting for your community. If you can play the game, you can figure out the rules, you can play the game, you can maybe figure out how to bend the rules for your advantage to win that game when the game is set up for you to lose. So again, this idea of broadening your capacity for movement has a deeper thread. And I just really want to help. And again, I don't have the experience of some of my friends who are Black in America and live with waking up daily with these conversations. But I know that I can help and I can listen and I can be available to anybody who wants to move, who needs to connect, who needs to be heard. And that's probably right now the best thing that I can do, and my purpose in this moment is to be there for people and to try to help people stay in that coherent place where they're going to be performing their best, where they're going to be creating solutions to the problems we face today, but not just solutions, but creative ones and ones that are attainable for people to adopt and carry out in their own communities. So yeah, I thank everybody that has jumped in for even a moment of this conversation. I know it's not really a conversation, it's just me talking. So thank you for a couple people who left a comment. I do really want to create a community of people who want to learn and grow and move together. And the little catchphrase that I've kind of built around the language of movement is move, play, live, and love. And I think those 4 words really, for me, are those renewing energies that the Heart Math program really talks about. So if we can build upon those concepts and build renewing energies and build our baseline to be starting from a place of coherence when we enter into a place that is chaotic, then we have some hope. But right now, that's going to take a big shift. Oh, it's going to take a big shift from everybody. So I hope, whoever whoever needs help, reach out to me. When I ask for help, I hope I get some people to join me, even if it's just sharing this or creating a conversation amongst your friends and your community. The time has been now. It was then, and it is still now. So, I'm just going to end with one more little quick coherence. If you weren't here at the start, that's just a technique to build in yourself a renewing energy. And if we take it one step further, it's actually another technique. So let's end with a different technique. So this technique is called the heart lock-in technique, and it's one step further on the quick coherence technique. So heart-focused breathing is something you can do all the time. In the fitness world, we talk about diaphragmatic breathing. So we put an intention on moving the breath through the diaphragm as opposed to the parasympathetic shortness of breath and rapid heart rate. We turn on the sympathetic nervous system by slowing our breathing down and breathing through our diaphragm. So heart-focused breathing is very similar. The intent is to upregulate our renewing emotions. And as we do that, with every beat of our heart, signals are sent to our brain, specifically our amygdala. And as we generate this feeling in ourselves, we can change the frequency of our being down to a cellular level. So in turn, we shift ourselves into this coherent space. So the last part of that is as you do this heart-focused breathing and you start to generate a renewing feeling or experience in your body and mind, you then radiate that to yourself and out to the community. So that would be the idea of spreading this energy and emitting it, which scientifically has been proven that we have an electromagnetic field. And there's actually an app called Global Coherence, which is a great app started by HeartMath that people can use to register this frequency. And you can actually see by using this technology of a sensor, it goes on your ear like this, and you plug it into your phone and you breathe, and measuring your heart rate, or as I mentioned before, heart rate variability, you can actually start to track your energy fireworks, your energy frequency, and they measure it in hertz. And there's an electromagnetic frequency of the universe, the earth. So when we get coherent, we actually match that frequency. So again, the numbers are there, the science is there. I'll get deeper into that someday. I know it sounds crazy, but there is a connection between our gut and our brain through the vagus nerve. There is a connection between our heart and our brain. So if we can start to emit these frequencies by consciously generating them, we can emit these out. And it's something that, again, it's even new for me as a concept, but with group meditation, with certain festivals where people come together with under the right intention and with a purpose, we can actually measure these things, and it's powerful. So again, practice these techniques that I shared tonight. If you're interested in learning more, I'm here to teach as much as I can to help people find that coherent place, or that I use the term flow state as well. That's not the HeartMath school. That's just me and Flow Genome Project and what I've learned through movement. But both of those ideas are geared towards getting us to a place of higher functioning, higher performance. And that's where the magic is going to happen right now. That's where the change is going to happen. So that felt good to get off my chest. So thank you all. I appreciate it. And I'm not going to stop. You know, I talk a lot about picking up trash and protecting Mother Nature and that, right? But now this has just been added to the list because this is something I know generations have been dealing with this, and like 400 years of generations have been dealing with this in the United States alone. So why not now to stop it? And you know, I hope it doesn't mean putting my life on the line, but like if in this lifetime that's what it takes to end this for the next generation, so that, you know, Black families in America don't have to have the conversation. And that's not about having sex. It's not that conversation. You know, that yeah, I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to do what I have to do in a peaceful way to stand with people who are ready to take on that same task. Not fight violence with violence, but to actually stand and act and demonstrate in a way that will garner attention and create a reaction of millions of people. So that means shutting city centers down in a peaceful way, and not just for a day, but for weeks, possibly months, possibly through the end of the year to get the message across. But that takes group coherence. That takes everyone being on the same page to act together. And that's the burden we face. Not the burden, but the challenge. So yeah, y'all. Thank you again for listening. I am grateful to have friends and family and a community of people who have supported me up to this point. And I hope I continue to get that support as new chapters in my story and journey unfold. I'm excited to bring the language of movement to the world, or to whatever community that I reach. And yeah, thank you. I'm out. Love you.